Sorry about that. I came in muted. Good afternoon and welcome to the Skillup show. Sorry, I started talking and realized I was muted for whatever reason. All right, so it's that time of the day when we come in here for our weekly webinar in the Skill Up show. We want to work with parents. We want to have conversations with parents on how we can skill up our young children and our preteens. So if you are here and you are a parent of a child who is a young child or a preteen, then you need to go ahead and invite a friend to join you because you are in the right place. The Skill Up Show is that show where we talk all about young children and preteens. My name is Maribel Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, and I am streaming live from Abuja. If you are here with me, I am sending a special shout out to you. Why don't you go ahead and invite a friend who needs to be here, a friend who has got young children and preteens? Why don't you invite that friend, that brother, that colleague, that loved one who needs to be here? Because today we are going to be sharing wisdom. And yes, I would welcome your questions if you have any while we are on the show, or if you want to drop one if you're catching the replay and you have questions that you would like to ask. If you are on Facebook, it's a good time to tag a friend right now. Yes, tag them so that they can join on the stream or they can catch the replay. And yes, if you are on YouTube, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel straight up, and remember to click the notification button so that anytime we go live, you get to know that we are live and you can be a part of the show. Okay, I was just doing a bit of housekeeping there. All right, while you invite someone, let's do a little more housekeeping for those who need to be here right now. Today, we are talking, okay, we're actually asking a question. Is my preteen becoming difficult, or is it that I can't understand them anymore? So you have a child who is a preteen. Now, some people say preteens are children between ages 10 and 12. Okay. Some say it's from ages 9. But because I work with young children, I like to start looking, at the children as preteens the moment they move from being toddlers, right? So I like to start looking at them as, okay, they're moving towards their teenage, right? So for your young children, I bunch them here. So your young school age child that is 7, 8, 9, 10, I think the lesson is also relevant for them. Whatever you're teaching your 10-year-old to 13-year-old is also relevant for your 7, 8 and 9-year-old children also. So yes, if you have children between 7, you have children who are even 6. All right, they say we don't go to war on the day of war. We don't prepare for war on the day of war. We actually get prepared for war before the day of war. So yes, let's fill those 2 boxes already, so when your children become preteens, you know what to do with them. All right, so yes, we are on. Okay, and let me start with this beautiful quote. All right. I said in this quote, right, it's an anonymous quote, and it says that when parents offer constructive support to their children, they don't only shape the child's behavior, but they build the foundation for trust and confidence that empowers the child to grow into the best version of themselves. So, when as a parent, you offer constructive support, you are that parent who is supporting your child constructively. We are not talking about that parent who comes in and you have all kinds of people waiting, at the beck and call of your child. We're not talking of the parent who takes every responsibility off the child and then you position yourself and every other person to attend to the child. No, we're talking of a parent who understands who their child is, understands the needs of their child, and then position themselves to be a guide, to be a model, and to create or provide the support that can help the child become the best version of themselves. Now, these These are the kind of parents we are referring to as the parents who are constructive in their support. Now, when you are constructive, you are not critical. I mean, you're not overly critical of the child. When you are constructive, you are not constantly micromanaging the child. When you are constructive, you understand and you accept the child's individuality. And so you allow the child's autonomy to emerge by ensuring that the child takes care of their responsibility and the child has the right of expression so that the child can express how they feel per time, okay, and express their own creativity, explore their curiosity and all of that. When we do this, we say you are a parent who is being constructive in your support. Now, if your child has got this advantage, if your child is blessed to have this kind of parents, this visionary parents, that becomes an advantage to the child. It says that what you're doing is you are actually not just shaping their behavior, because yes, you will be shaping their behavior, but more than their behavior, you will be helping them form the foundation, right, that will help this child become confident and empowered to grow into the best version of themselves. Give me a second, please. All right, then. So let's move on. These are the things that we are talking about today. So let's get to it. So now the question is, now, as a parent of a preteen, a parent of a young child, a parent of a preteen, all of a sudden you notice that your child, who usually or who used to be this very easy child, very, playful, easy, you give them instruction and they see those instructions through and all of that. All of a sudden, you notice that the child begins to, come across as difficult. You tell them to do one thing, they frown. You tell them to do another, they are angry, at different points, they are moody, and all of that. And the kind of questions we have parents ask is it like, is that something that is happening to the child? All right. And then some parents will begin to blame it on their friends, others want to blame it on their schools, want to blame it on all kinds of people or every other thing out there, that could be the reason why the child is going through that phase and all of that. Now, it could be that as a parent, you are not paying attention, because if you're paying attention, you could just see, or if you are knowledgeable enough, you would know that it probably is not just some other person. Okay, if you stop and you think about it, it may not be some other person or some other institution or something out there that is responsible for this. It could just be that there are certain things that are happening to your child that you just haven't paid attention to, or that you have not sought knowledge to know. And that's why we're here today, so that we can look at these things. And if this happens to be your situation, then you know what you're dealing with, and then you know how to support the child. So let's look at some of the reasons why our children, who used to be all sweet and all loving, can all of a sudden become seemingly difficult, especially during that phase of their life where they are now, preteens. They are beginning to, want to do their thing. They're beginning to, want to do their thing on their own. They want to, act like big boys or big girls all of a sudden. They're constantly seeing and watching what they want to watch and saying things the way they want to say it. Now, let's look at some of the things that could be the reason behind this. All right, so we're not going to eliminate the fact that your child can actually have external influence that may be the reason why your child is talking a certain way, acting a certain way, and being a certain way at this time, because we can never take away the place of your child's environment. So yes, the environment could be the reason why the child is like this, okay, during this phase of their lives. Now, the environment won't do this to your child in isolation. All right, it's usually the environment, and then the phase where the child is in their lives. All right, the phase where the child is in their lives and the environment, because at this point your child is beginning to feel like an individual. I mean, your child is an individual, has always been an individual. Now the child is beginning to recognize their individuality more, and the child is seeking autonomy. So the child wants to do things the way they like to do them. The child wants to do things the way they enjoy doing them. Now, at this phase, when the child begins to do things on their own or begins to exhibit some level of independence, now what the child will manifest will be what the child has seen or what the child has learned in their environment. Now, if in that environment the child has had negative influences in that environment, it is possible that at this point that your child is constructing and your child is beginning to lead themselves, or your child is beginning to champion their own cause, the child is going to borrow from these negative influences that the child has had from their environment. So that is why it's important that your child's environment, the content of that environment, and of course what is being modeled in that environment is very critical, especially during this foundation phase or this early stage of their lives. So very important. So yes, the environmental factor and all of these external things around your child could be the reason why your child, who used to be all very very, very easily guided, very easily took instructions easily in the past, would get to the point where the child is beginning to be quote and unquote difficult. But I said this doesn't stand in isolation. A lot of times you see this because now the child is becoming autonomous and the child is going back to all of the experiences that they have had. Okay, and if those experiences are negative, they will use those negative experiences to express themselves, and then the child comes across as a disobedient child, difficult child, and all of that. So yes, that's number one. Number two, it could actually not be the external influences per se. It could just simply be what your child is going through at the time because of the phase of their lives. Your preteen, we're looking at your preteen now. Your preteen could be that 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, and the just teen, your 13-year-old, right? Okay, now during this phase, there's a lot going on inside the child. We've talked about this, we've been talking about this, it's an ongoing concern around here because in this group, we talk about young children and preteens. So yes, you will hear of those hormonal, changes going on in the child over and over again because it is crucial. It is a big deal during this phase of their life and is responsible for a lot of, the actions that you see in your preteens basically, and your children who are in the early phase of adolescence. So yes, it could be the hormonal changes going on. All right, your preteen is going through puberty, right? It's in that early phase of puberty, and then this will lead to mood swings. It will lead to the child being irritable, the child trying to exercise their autonomy. A lot of emotional roller coaster is going on there because of all of these hormones raging. And in many cases, because these children do not have they do not have the skills, right? Remember, at this stage, their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that actually controls things like behavior, emotions, and all of that, even their cognitive ability is not fully developed, then if the child is even more disadvantaged to be amongst adults and older people who are struggling with their own emotional intelligence and emotional regulation, it means that the child is going to have double baggage. Now, if this is the case, then the child is going to, of course, come across as difficult because the child has got a lot of baggages that the child is dealing with, the natural ones, the ones that are acquired from their environment, of course, and all of that put together. So yes, your preteen may appear, right, to be difficult at this time, or be that child that everybody should be complaining about because of this factor. Okay, but I want you to know that it's not completely out of place, or it's not out of place because it could just be those hormones, and then again, their environment plays a big role here also. The next one is their need and their hunger for independence. All right, during this phase, as I said, the child has gone through the That's the whole toddler phase where you can say, sit down here, and they sit down, stand up here, and you can just simply say, I won't give you this. And that is enough for your child to adjust and behave. Or the anticipation of what you will give. Oh, tomorrow is going to be ice cream Saturday or whatever, and the child begins to behave well right from Monday because he's anticipating ice cream on Friday. All right, so you can see that and have that with your toddlers. But the moment the children grow into, puberty is set in, the child is beginning to feel like a big boy, like a big girl. And then these days, have you seen your 12-year-olds? Have you seen how big they are? The children are tall, the children are matured, puberty is set in, the girls already have, they're already looking all matured, right? Sometimes you hear they're 12 and you are like, ah, the child is already looking like they're 16. Even for the boys, they're all tall, voice husky, and all of that. So yes, they want to act like big boys and girls. So yes, they're not, even though inside they still feel like children and they still want the ice cream, they're now beginning to form and feel like I'm independent. I don't have to go about looking as if ice cream is everything. So you hear them, if they have younger siblings, you actually hear them chastising the younger siblings and saying things like, is it only because of ice cream that you're acting like that? Meanwhile, inside they too, they want ice cream. But basically, now the child is in this phase where the child is seeking independence, and so the child comes across as difficult, the kind of things that you would expect them to jump up for, and allow themselves, in the past, be carried along. All of a sudden, they don't want to be carried along. And if you are that person that is big on family, doing things together, you all have all of that, the child will come across as difficult. Because in the past, you'll be like, okay, we're all dressing in a certain way, we're all doing encore today and all of that. And before, the child would just jump into their own encore and everybody would take the pictures or do whatever. All of a sudden, he doesn't understand why we all have to dress in a particular t-shirt or we all have to wear a pattern of clothes. Like, what is all this? So the child becomes irritable because the child is trying to be independent and not be dragged into all those drama. They don't like drama at this phase. So that could be it. Your child could be going through that phase. Little drama as much as possible, all of a sudden, I don't want all of that. So even this is still dependent on how you have been intentional and whether the child understands the why of your family dynamics. So if a network. Okay, sorry, I think we're back. All right, so if your child has understood, if you're in a family where you have understood your family dynamics, basically, and your child understands the why behind the things that you do, they won't see it as drama, they will see it as part of your family tradition. All right, so that could be it, the fact that your family dynamics are not clear, or you don't even have one that is, that you are sharing with the child and all of that. And then now adolescence has come to show its face, and the child is in that place. I want to be independent, I don't want to do what everybody is doing. So the child will appear difficult. So if you are that parent and you want, when your children get to this preteen and teenage phase, you still want to have that loving child, that sweet, we should do stuff together, then this is the time to start helping them understand the why behind everything that you do. And you have to be sure that you two are not being overly dramatic. You are just creating experiences, building the family. You have your family traditions, you're creating experiences, and all of that. And if the children understand these are family traditions, these are experiences we're creating, the children understand your dynamics, you realize you won't have to deal with the things that their average classmates and friends deal with, simply because they are just dealing with adolescence and all the baggage that comes with it. So yes, independence could be the reason why your child who used to be easy, and all of that becomes difficult or appears difficult. Number 4 is peer pressure. Yes. Now, during this phase, the children become, I'm sure you've heard this many times, that as our children move from being toddlers and school-age children, school-age children, and then they become preteens and teenagers, right? Their circle of influence begins to change. Yes, the circle of influence begins to change. So gradually, The children want to do the things that their mates are doing. The children want to do the things that their friends are doing. The children want to do the things that seem cool to everybody. All right. So this could be music. This could be the way they dress. This could be the things they think is the things that they think are important. This could be in the way they want to speak, and if these do not align with your values, do not align with your preferences as their parents, does not align with who you are as a family, and your child doesn't know all of this. Your child has not been raised with these family dynamics. Again, we're back to family dynamics. You have raised the child without your family vision, your family mission, your family what do you call it, your media plan, all of this structure that you have in place to help your children be aware of who they are and who you are as a family and what it is that are your values and the standard for your existence as a family. What will happen is when your children get to this phase of their lives, because they have more influence, or they are going to be influenced by their peers more than they can be influenced by you. Don't fight it, dear parents. It's life, it's reality. Embrace it. That's how it is. Okay. So these influences would erode a lot of the things that used to be okay to the child in your home. A lot of the things that you just tell the child to do and the child would do in the past, as I said earlier, may not work again at this phase, because all of a sudden the child is more, his ears are tuned to his friends, pop culture and other culture, the culture in his school, the culture in his hostel, the culture amongst the boys, the culture amongst the girls, the culture of the time. So the child is tuned to this, and the child wants to be as cool as the people of his generation are. And then here you are with your old school ways, and you are not understanding the child at the time, because you're trying to force your old school way to the child, down the child's throat. So yes, the child will come across as difficult because the child is going to be pushing back. He wants to exist in his time, and you're trying to drag him to your time, or at least that's how the child will see it. Now, is there a twist to this as an intentional parent? If you have done your homework and you are not operating on old school or new school, but you're operating on principles, your family dynamics, and your family values, then your values will stay, all right? And especially if that value, beyond your value, you have been intentional about the child's environment. What it means is that your child will be in an environment that basically will tune towards your values. So when we say, parents, enroll your children in the mastermind circle. All right. So the mastermind circle is our peer mentorship and accountability group. It's a mentorship group, for children between 6 and 13-year-olds. All right. So what we have in this is a robust community where we are mentoring the children, and then the children are mentoring each other and inspiring each other and motivating each other. So we create a system where the children can learn from each other. The children can rub minds. The children can share each other's, they can share their perspective on different issues, and they're learning from each person's perspective. So what you have in the circle is you have children who are with other children who are like minds, children who are with other children who are developing themselves, children who are with other children who are identifying their superpowers, their hobbies, as we like to call them, their superpowers, and they are already doing something, or they're working towards doing something with their superpowers. Children who are taught how to be innovative, creative, how to become people of value, and not just people who consume from the things that the average child is consuming without becoming resourceful and productive. Now, because your child is having this kind of conversation with children with like minds, children with vision, children on a mission, children who are already walking the path of purpose, your child is in the right environment. So when the child goes to random or They go to circular environments like the school, where there are people from different backgrounds and different ideology and different, upbringing, and they listen to these people, and all they are talking about is Pokemon and games and staying up and iPhone and all of these things that are superficial, all of these things that are not realistic, if you ask me, for them. Basically, talking from the experiences of adults and regurgitating the things that happen in adult world. This is what our children get in most of these places, even in schools, when they interact with their classmates and their schoolmates, basically. Now, what you do when you put them in mentorship programs and you put them in programs like these that are intentional and are for self-development, they have a different kind of conversation with these same people that are their friends, their age mates, and all of that. So your children know that when they are out there, they are in a world that people are just doing anyhow. They're in a world where people are talking about money that they don't have, where children have phones that are worth 2 million when they cannot make 2 naira. And now when they come to this kind of community, they are in a community where little children who are doing exceptionally well in school and every other area of their life are already making money and creating impact at their level, not because their parents gave them, but because they are already becoming people of value. So you see how you have created an environment for your child that is realistic, an environment that is futuristic, an environment that is visionary, all right? And that way you're able to create that balance for your child, where your child knows that there is a reality and there are people who are like me, young people. It's not an adult thing. It is what people who are visionary and have the advantage of parents who know, better. And this is it. So when they're with their friends can run their mouth all they want to run in school and in other places. And the child smiles knowingly because the child has got higher knowledge. That's what we're talking about. All right. Now, when your child with higher knowledge is with these children who are supposed to be their influences, you will realize that these children, yes, the child wants to dress like them, looks like them, and but somehow the child has their boundaries. They don't sound like them exactly. And basically, they do not become they do not become their followers per se. Okay, they do not become the followers of them, as my coach would say. So your children become the influence. So you see why we say, why can't our children be the positive peer influences? But then again, if your child is not developing themselves, your child is not in the right environment, the child does not have what it takes to become a positive influence in a world where there are so many negative influences, or they are more in number, basically. So it takes a child who is grounded in the right foundation, with the right foundation, to actually stay in the company of mediocres and still raise their head up and be exceptional. And that's what we are raising in the mastermind circle. Children who can still be amongst their peers, but still raise their head and be exceptional. Because as I will say to the children in the mastermind, and I say to my children, this is how the world is, basically. So you cannot isolate yourself and say, oh no, I'm not going to associate with people who are not exactly like me. You can't do that. You will be isolating yourself, and I promise you, you are few compared to the number of people who are not in this space or not doing the right thing. All right. And yes, you are going to go back and you will lead. So if you're going to lead in the world, you can't lead in a world that you do not understand. You can't lead in a world that you do not understand what the citizens of that world are like. So yes, you will know what they're talking about. You will know what they are doing, but you are many, many, many steps ahead, and you become the positive influence. And the truth is, if we don't raise more and more of this kind of children that will become the positive influence out there in the society, there's no way we're going to be able to change the society that we have already, whether it's a society in Nigeria, in Africa, or the one in Europe, or wherever. It still takes people who are exemplary and people who are exceptional to actually change the society, basically. So this is why it's not about having and pushing a niche and keeping a niche for your children and keeping them there and locking the door and saying they can't play with the neighbors, they can't go to parties, they can't go to anything in school, they can't do this, they can't do that. That's not about it. It's about how you're fortifying your child. So when I see parents say, oh, I'm being intentional, I'm an intentional parent and all of that, I can work with my children, and all of that, I laugh, because it takes much more than what you alone are doing for and with your child, for your child to stand and bring their head up above water and not to be swallowed when the multitude is out there. It's not about isolation. It's about setting them apart so that when they are with the multitude, they still stand out and they become the positive influence, basically. So yes, your children need to be mentored. Your children need to be in systems where they can have like minds and they are growing in perspective, they are growing in their convictions, they are becoming impact makers even at the level where they are, and they are meeting other impact makers. Your children need to be outside their parents. Your children need to connect with other people like them. So yes, if you are intentional, that is your journey. Your journey does not make up your child's journey. So the earlier your child is out there connecting, building, and finding their tribe, the better for your child. So yes, if you don't know this, then your child is going to come across as difficult just because you don't understand what is going on and you don't understand the role that you can play to ensure that your child goes through this phase, right? Or these phases that we're talking about, equipped basically and not isolated. The goal is not isolation. The goal is setting apart and standing out even in the midst of the multitude. All right, dear parents. So we go on, and then the next one we're going to be talking about. Sorry, give me a second. And then the last one we are talking about is another reason, right? So we talked about peer pressure. Now, when there's a communication gap between you and your child, right? When there's a communication gap with you and your child, I mean, I was talking, who was it? A few days ago, I was talking to someone and the person was telling me how the parents, I mean, she didn't have any connection with her mom till she was, I don't know, I can't remember what she said, 18 or something like that. Her mom was never present in her life till she was somewhere around 18 or thereabouts. And then the only time that her mom became present in her life was because her father wasn't there anymore. Her father had passed on, and all of that. And, she couldn't continue staying with the father's wife, her stepmom, so she had to go to her mother. And now she was with her mother, someone she never knew all these years and all of that. How is it going to work? So it became a problem because there was a communication gap between she and this person. So it becomes really difficult, right, for our children to relate to us, right, when that's the case. Now, this is the case, if it's understandable. The mom was not around and all of that. How about the families? I mean, some of us, that right there, even while we are present, when we're present in the same home. Yes, thank you, Ibukun. Your journey does not make up your child's journey. Absolutely. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you very much. Ibukun, did you hear me? I was going to say thank you, Jesus. Yes, thank you, Jesus. All right, so yes. So you're basically now, there's a lot of us parents who are right there at home. Fathers, mothers, I don't want to call one person. Could be you, the father, and your children. Could be you, father, and your son. Could be you, mother, and your children. You, mother, and your daughter. You are right there, and yet the children cannot feel you. You are not emotionally present for them. I promise you, a child that you're not emotionally present for is not going to, you're not going to understand that child much, because the child is going to be saying very little to you. And as these children grow older, they go past that phase where we can say, I know my child. If you are still in that space, you're looking at your 13, 15, 18, and you're hitting your chest and saying, I know my child, it will shock you. It will shock you, parents, because this is a whole human being, a whole individual. You can't claim to know a whole individual if the person is not saying to you in sincerity, these are the things I'm capable of, these are the things that I do, these are the things that I don't do. A phase will come, are you with them all the time? Do you go about with them everywhere? Are you in the toilet? Are you in their classrooms? Are you everywhere? Even if you were everywhere, time will come, you will get tired of being everywhere. Abi, it's your job in this world to come and follow one human being. And then if you have two, how are you going to shape? I mean, how are you going to share yourself so that you are there with two of them? And then when there are three, what are you going to do? So yes, there has to be that place where you get to and you realize I cannot micromanage my home or micromanage my children. So I'm going to create a system of communication that is open from the earliest time of their lives, and we keep it open by the connection that I create or the connection that we build as a family. It is that connection that you build right from when they are young that will sustain you. And that connection is built when you are supportive. It is built when you do not constantly judge them. It is built when you are not constantly nitpicking. Everything they do is an issue. Everything is a problem. Everything you must, when you give them room to fail, you give them room to make mistakes, and you come back to the drawing board, or you come back every time and you talk about those mistakes, allowing them to x-ray their journey and x-ray their mistakes themselves and pick the faults or the wrongdoings in their mistakes and give them the opportunity to try again using, the new approach, or what they have learned, or the lessons that they have learned from that mistake. When you do that, you become a parent who knows the child, because you have a communication line that is going and is working between you. All right. And when this is the case, you will hardly be in that space where you think that your child has become difficult, because if they are, all of a sudden you will know why, because you have a communication line going between you, and you understand what is going on with them. And then the last one I'm going to be sharing is stress. It could be that your child is going through stress, and this stress could be any kind of stress. The stress can come from adolescence, as we have talked about, puberty and all of that. The stress can come from schoolwork. It can come from the child could be in that phase of their life where schoolwork, the load of schoolwork has become so much that they are stressed. We take it for granted that our children get stressed also. All right. Studies have shown that there is a lot of stress going on amongst young children into this world, right? A lot of children are already going through anxiety, right? A lot of children have, anxiety attacks, here and there. A lot of children are even depressed, right? They are depressed from stress. Think about it. Do you know how these children work? Do you know how children go to school these days? Children have to wake up at 5 a.m., get ready for school and all of that. They commute to school. Sometimes these children don't come home till sometime around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Their children will get home sometime at 7 o'clock, and that child is going to be out again at 5 the next day, depending on where they live. So life is hard as it is. It is hard. It is a lot of pressure. And in all of this, these children will go to school. Some of them go to schools where the schools are claiming that the syllabus is so huge, there's no time to play. Or there's that general assumption that when children get into secondary school, you're now in SS1, you're now in JSS3, and so you're a big boy, you're a big girl, you shouldn't be playing anymore. So you go to schools that do not even have, play intentional, the outdoor, activity is not intentional, to invite children to actually play and diffuse. So you see your child from morning to evening, there's no way to diffuse, nowhere to ease off, to let it out, and then the child comes home, his homework, his lesson teacher, is another lesson, it's just crazy. So it's like a clockwork like this. And then the same child will not do during the holiday. It's more lesson and more lesson. So it's a lot of stress. So your child could be going through one of those stresses. It could even also be, if the child is in that space where we have not gone through, our family values and dynamics have not, taught the children or created systems where our children cannot get themselves all tangled in emotional, in a lot of emotional baggages. Now your children are 14, they are dating, your 13-year-old is dating, your 14-year-old is dating, your 16-year-old probably has 2 boyfriends or 2 girlfriends, and so they are in that space already where they are carrying emotional baggages that are 10 times bigger than them, because now they are not having to just deal with themselves and the schoolwork. Your 13-year-old, your 14-year-old is having to cry over a boy or cry or get mad over a girl. We just complicate the lives of these children in the name of, oh no, they're just big boys now. I beg, just allow them. When you were that age, were you not that you were doing or did not do certain things? Does that mean that you, now that you know better, you couldn't do better by your children? Now, these are not the things that we do by forcing. These are the things that we introduce early, and our family dynamics and our family values should take care of these things even before our children get to this stage where they are confused. So this could be the reason why your child is coming across as difficult all of a sudden, because they're going through all of this stress. Could be social anxiety or social issues. Your child doesn't know how to make friends. Your child doesn't know how to connect with people. Your child doesn't know how to interact with people, and all of that. That could be all of it. And these are the things. So sometimes they are not able to manifest outside. Outside, they are just quiet by themselves. It's when they come home that they are irritable. When they come home, they let it out on their younger siblings, let it out in the way they respond when you ask them questions or you talk to them, or in the moods that they show and all of that. So these could be the things that your children are dealing with, your preteens are dealing with. And if you don't know and you are not you don't know about these things, right? You would. But you know how we do it? We put everything in one. We have only one hammer that we use to solve every problem. So whether the child is going through emotional issues, is it the hammer of you are difficult? Whether the child is going through whatever it is, everything is put in the hammer of you are difficult, you are not appreciative, you are just this, you are just that. So basically, we don't have other ways or strategies to deal with these issues. When we see them, we attack our children. It's attack is our only strategy. You do this, attack. You do that, attack. Everything, attack. In fact, for some of us, it's beating. Everything ends up with beating. You reset brain for every reason. You're going through emotional issues, resetting. Social issues, resetting. Stress, resetting brain with a cane. Everything is reset. So these are the issues. All right, so now let's look at reasons why you may be misunderstanding your child, right? Reason why preteens may be misunderstood by, so these first ones I said basically are reasons why your preteen may be difficult. All right, so this can also apply to why you may misunderstand them too. But let's look at some of the reasons why you would misunderstand your child. Your child is going through developmental stages, all right, and your child is in a developmental stage that I just spoke about. Could be, adolescence. Basically, it could be, what do you call it? It could be puberty. Your child could be going through puberty and is having all of those mood swings and all of that. And because you don't understand this, if you don't understand this, you will treat the child like the child has a problem, or you treat the child like the child, is being difficult. You treat the child like the child is being irresponsible, and all of that, just because you are not understanding or you are misunderstanding the fact that your child is going through this phase of their life. The next one is, as I said, their emotions. All of these hormones that are raging in your child's body will lead to a lot of complexity, emotional complexity going on, in the child. Your child feels, your child could be going through one emotional problem in school with their friend. Do you know something as simple as, for you, it could be as simple as them coming home and telling you, oh, Agnes relocated, my friend relocated. And that could be like their really very close friend, their best friends. Do you know that their best friend relocating, or a best friend actually moving, the child who has moved away, right? Oh, that can be such a huge, it can be such a huge reason for trauma for your child. It could be your child that has been moved from a location where they have always been all their lives. All their life, they've been in that location, they've been in that country, they've been in that neighborhood, they've been in that place. The child that has never had to deal with separation, that level of separation. Okay, it could be that. It could be, you move with the child and one of the parents is behind, and the child has never known a time without their dad at home. You've never known a time without their mom. And then all of a sudden, one parent is away. It will shock you, right, how much that can affect the child. It could be that the parents, as I said, one of the parents moves or the family moved without one of the parents. It could be that the child moved and it's just their friends and all of that. It could be anything. You cannot tell anybody how to react to shock. You cannot tell anybody how to react to changes. We are different. While one of your children could take it all well, another may not take it that well. And you cannot come and begin to shout and scold them. Is it only you? Didn't this one move? Didn't this one do? Did we not do it to this one too and that one? Why is your own different? It's because you are misunderstanding the child. It's as simple as that. I remember talking, at the point I was having a session, and I talked about parents who relocate with their children. And I said, if you need time to adjust, if you're going to go through some level of cultural shock and you need time to adjust and all of that, is it strange that that your children would probably be going through the same thing or would probably need the same thing? Because we just assume that because their children, all right, things are as simple as they seem. We tend to think that because they are children, they can verbalize everything. Do you know that a lot of the things that happen with these children are actually psychological? The child themselves may not even be able to put a finger on it and analyze it, basically because all of these things are happening in the subconscious. Okay, so you could ask your child and it feels like the child is okay, but no, the child is dealing with a lot of trauma inside. Okay, and trauma has a way of manifesting even much later. You'll be amazed that trauma that the child is going through at that time would actually manifest when the child is in their 20s, and all of that. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that as adults, we put ourselves in the position where we ask the adult and we act the adult, we preempt what could possibly be trauma to our children, and we do everything within our power to eliminate those things so that at least we can reduce the effect of trauma or reduce this negative effect on our children. So we need to be that intentional, that conscious basically of our children and their needs as children. Remember, they may not be able to give verbal expression. They may not even understand these things themselves. So if you're going to wait and you're going to depend on a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old to express everything that they feel to you, especially if you're a parent that has not raised them to access their emotions and express their emotions. If you are from this part of the world, chances are 90%, you may not have the hang of all of your emotions and be able to express them because we were not raised to connect with our emotions, to make friends with our emotions. We were not raised to to feel our emotions. We're not raised to do that. Okay, we were told what to do with every emotion. So that's why a child will cry, and while the child is crying, you tell the child, close your mouth. Close your mouth or I'll beat you again. How is that child going to open mouth? How is that child going to be able to access their emotions at 10 and express them to you in a way that you say, okay, no, my child is fine? No, you will not know. All right, because the child does not have that emotional intelligence, all right, or that recognition of their emotions to the point that they can name them and they can actually give expression to that they can actually give words to those emotions. So these are the issues that we are talking about. All right, so it could be all of this emotional complexity. Another one could be changes in interest. As children grow, their interests will change, and so all of a sudden your child that made you go and pay for a football academy, and now you have paid 200,000 naira for the football academy. Somewhere along the line, 6 months, 4 months, 3 months into it, the child is not interested anymore because there's been a sudden change in the child's interest. You don't understand this and you are angry, you are upset, you are this, you are that, and all of that. Now, it's not about the child changing that interest. It's not just about that. It's about you knowing how to go about it. It's about you knowing how to support the child at this point. And it's about you being there, being supportive, and being knowledgeable enough to identify that the child is probably not just going through, some temporal, some temporal setback, or the child is not just being, lazy at the time, or the child is not just refusing. I mean, at that point, the child is refusing to, to be resilient, and all of that. So it takes you being knowledgeable and you understanding the child to help the child, because it could be this, it could be that. Hi, Esther. So it could be this, it could be that your child is dealing with at the time. It could just simply be that your child doesn't have the capacity, doesn't have, the resilience at that time. It's your support and you knowing the child that will help the child develop that right there, because you know the child and you know what to do to support the child, and you know how to motivate the child, and you have the right support system to motivate the child. It's another reason we say come to the mastermind circle. I am a child motivator, all right, and support experts. All right. So sometimes children will come up with these things, not necessarily because they are not interested, but because the child has a lot of noise going on, around the child at the time. It could just simply be that all of a sudden, all of his friends or her friends are doing a certain thing, right? All of their friends are doing a certain thing. And remember, they are in that phase of their life where they are more drawn to being influenced by their friends, by their peers. And it could just simply be that the child is getting disinterested because he seems to be the only one that is on this camp, and he needs to be where everybody is. All right. So your child could be dealing with an underlying thing. FOMO, the fear of missing out, could be what your child is dealing with at that time. But because as it is that in your toolbox, you only have one hammer, that hammer, you will use it to fix every problem. Hey, you say you're not interested, boom, on the head. Oh, you say, so you're not there, you're not present enough, right? You don't know what to do, you don't have all the, arsenal that you need to help figure out, or separate what it could be, and then support and help the child through that, phase of their lives. So yes, it could be that is going on, and you may be, yes, you may be well misunderstanding your child, dear parents, because you don't know this. All right. Now it could also be the fear of judgment. Your child doesn't want to be judged. Now, if you are the jury, you are the lion, the conqueror. How do they call it? The lion, the giant, the conqueror, the lion is here, whatever. If you are that one, all right, I feel attacked. Please don't feel attacked. Please don't feel attacked, okay? All right, so if you are the lion, the emperor, the conqueror, and that kind of person in your home, you judge, you are the jury, you are the everything, right? What will happen is you find yourself constantly judging your children. You find yourself constantly micromanaging. It's my way or no way. See that thing you're doing now, I don't want you. It's not right. It's not right. You will not listen. Sure, you know too much. I'll be going. It's always your way. You always want them to funnel everything through your, you always want them to funnel everything through you. It has to be your way. Now, when this is the point, and the child feels strong about something, when the child feels strong about something, chances are they will not tell you about it. Or when you try to come in, they will be adamant about it, or they will just say to you, no problem, and they will still end up doing what they want to do. Okay, and that's because they don't want to say these things to you, because they know that you will judge them. So when you are overly judgmental, you don't allow children. See, there's a way we get to a point, right? You can actually make a child change their mind about something without saying a word. Like one word, like, no, what you're doing is not. Just create a system. Create systems, right, in your home that will allow the children send themselves to courts, be part of their own case, and then give themselves judgment and adjust. I'll give you a little story. So I was out with my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, the other day, and we had gone out to the market. She needed to get something, her friend's birthday, and she had coerced me into, helping her get a gift. So she wanted to get a gift, and she actually said she was going to pay for the gift herself. In my head, how much do you even have? Anyway, so we went. She asked for an ATM card, like basically she's going to pay, So we had gone to, check the first place that wanted to check, and all of that. So while all of that was going on, somehow, I don't know what happened. My wallet was with her. I had my purse all right, but my wallet ended up with her. And then we go into the car, and this was like almost 7. It was dark, and we were leaving, and we realized that the wallet wasn't there. It was missing. All right. So I got really very, like, all my ATM cards, like I had a lot in there, So I go all very, oh my goodness, what's all this? So we started running back, and she was like, "Mommy, let's run back, let's go back, park the car." So we went through all that. I couldn't even find the exact location because we had gone to like a small market around. I couldn't find where. Anyway, we turned and all of that. Eventually, we were lucky and we got the purse back. When we got the purse back, on our way back to the car, she said, "Mommy, I know that I may not go for the party. I know I won't go for the party." And that's actually put it. "I know that I may not go for the party anymore, but can you just do me a favor? Can we still get the gift? Like, can we still get the gift and I'll give it to her when we get back to school on Tuesday? I know I have missed the chance to go for the party." So you see, on her own, she had finished. She had gone to court by herself. She has become the lawyer of her own case. And in fact, she has become the jury and she has judged her own case by herself. And she had decided, like, she was waiting. If that is going to be the consequence, it's okay. I'm going to bear the consequence, But here is my case. Here is my plea. Please, in the middle of all of this, can I, So, of course, eventually she went for the party. We had fun, and all of that. So, basically, the system that you create, and all of that, the things that you put in place early is going to, create that environment where that misunderstanding, you can actually ward off those misunderstandings. But basically, these are some of the reasons why you could be misunderstanding your child. I'm going to share a last one, and the last one is going to be that it could be that your child has got some private needs. It could be that your child has got some private needs, and that's the reason your child just wants privacy. Your child is in that point where your child doesn't want to talk about something yet. It could be that your child could be cooking up, your child could be cooking up something, a project that he's not ready to share yet, and all of that. And if that's the case, the child may be going through, could be there, and you are misunderstanding the child. It could be this, it could be that. All right, it could be this, it could be that. It still boils down to the channel of communication that you have created. Okay, it still boils down to the channel of the relationship you've built, the connection that you've built with your child, and all of that. It could just simply be what you have taught your child. You've taught your child to respect people, respect their privacies. So, like in my home, we said there's only one secret that we keep. We said there's only one secret, and that secret is a good secret. So if the secret is going to lead to a good surprise, that's the only secret that you can keep. Meaning, it's someone's birthday and we don't want to tell. It's, we're putting up a surprise for someone and we don't want to tell, and then it's something that it's a two-way communication thing. It's between me and you, all right? So it's between me and you. So your brother or your sister doesn't have to hear about it. But then me, okay, I learned this one from Irene Bango. So me is me and daddy. Mommy is mommy and daddy. So it simply means if you're telling, it's just mommy and daddy that will know about it, and others won't know about it. It's just the two of us. All right. So you can teach your child that, and your child takes it a notch, right? And their friend talks to them in confidence, and it's like two of them, and the child doesn't get to tell you about it, right? So it still depends on the dynamics that you have created in your home. If you've created a system or structure in your home where it is said that even when your friends tell you things, you can tell just me, basically, so that so it could be that, it could be their friend's own secrets, could be their friend is going through something and has confided in them, and the child doesn't want to feel like a betrayal, right, to their friend, and they choose not to tell anybody. All right, so now so what it means is these are kind of conversations you want to start having now and putting your caveats to them. All right, they are conversations you want to start having now. If you have children who are already getting to this phase, have this conversation so that you already know when these things happen, simulate these things already so that they know what it is that they can't do at all and what it is that has to still come home. So it could be that no matter who it is, as far as you are not married yet, everything, this one person that must hear, and that is me. And me means me and daddy. All right. So we will keep whatever secrets you want us to keep, but let no one ever tell you something that we won't get to hear. Do you understand? Something like that. Just put this in place and don't take it for granted, because if you do, these are some of the things that will come up. And when your children become adolescents and they become teenagers, okay, when they become, preteens, these are the things that will come up, and you will end up misunderstanding your child because you didn't have this system in place. And these are the things that we are looking at. All right. So, yes, parents. So, to answer that question, all right. So to answer that question, all right. So let's quickly go through how we can support our children, right? Let's look at how we can support them to be wholesome so that all of these things can be dealt with. I've already given you number one. Talk about it. Talk about these things. Look, as in, think wide. When you're a parent, you're creative. Think wide. Go wide and far with your imaginations of the things that can come up in your parenting, in your relationship with your child, and create systems for them even before you get there. Let that communication line open the communication line between you and your child early, and go through that path of that communication line over and over again until conversations between you and your children become fluid, right? They become fluid, so you can talk about anything and everything along that communication line that you have created. The next one is open communication. That's what I'm saying, right? So that open communication habit, okay? Now, healthy boundaries. We're talking about that. So set healthy boundaries. So boundaries are things like, it doesn't matter what it is that your friend says to you, I must hear. No matter how close the friend is, I must hear. Not because I would tell anybody, but because we need to protect you all the time. And you may not know when you are in danger, when you choose to keep things outside us. So tell us, and we think about it like we are your 5 and 6. We will always be there. Just tell us what you want us to do with the information after you have made it known to us. You don't want any other person to hear it. No other person will ever hear it. But you must tell everything. So set those boundaries. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable, even in their crave for independence. Set what it is. For instance, of course, the children in my own home, in your room, everybody's trying to accept and respect your privacy and all of that, but we don't lock doors in our home. So you are in my home, you can't get into a room and lock yourself in. It's a no, all right? Because yes, these are the boundaries. We have set healthy boundaries. While we respect your autonomy, your individuality, your independence, and all of that, we have boundaries within that independence. So these are the things, all right? So set your healthy boundaries, right? Security, create structure, put all of these things, in place. Patience and empathy. You want to make sure that patience and empathy is a thing in your home. All right, establish it, and create systems where the children will have to practice this. Do you know that when, as a parent, your child is going to school, you write them lovely notes, you put them in their bag and go? This is you teaching empathy, basically, and kindness in a system. Don't leave anything in a vacuum. Don't leave it for your children to be kind when they want to be kind. You are kind whenever you remember. Create a system in your home where kindness is practiced over and over again. You can actually put, a system where we share notes once in a week or once in a month. Create a system, right? Let everything you want to build into your parenting, let it run through a system. There are no vacuums, okay? Let it run through a system, so that it stops being you reminding everybody and saying, have you done this? Let there be a system that prompts them to do it without being micromanaged. Okay, do that. Understand their perspective, even when they seem irrational or moody. Show them some support. Be patient, even when your child is being, irrational. When they have conflicts, don't jump into their conflicts. Allow them, walk through the conflict on their own. Just create system, right? And create system that will help them learn how to resolve their conflicts on their own. For instance, if I don't need to know you guys, you don't need to come to me to resolve your conflicts. Resolve your conflicts on your own. It is when there is no way forward, then you look for one of us and help and let us be a part of it. Not because you need to make your brother or your sister look bad, but because you need support to help your sister understand your perspective. This is a good way to come if we're going to raise children that will be wholesome, and we don't have to misinterpret them, and they also do not need to feel unsafe with us and all of that. Of course, you want to model healthy, you want to model all of these things: emotional intelligence, social intelligence, spiritual intelligence. You want to model all of this to your children so that they become what your children will fall back to, the model that you have created of how you should, regulate your emotions, the model that you have created of how you should have faith, trust God, and go back to God no matter what it is that you are going through, the model that you have created for patience and empathy and of course tolerance of other people, okay, irrespective of their culture, their religion, their preferences, and all of that. When you model all of this to your children, then your children are on their way, right, to you're incorporating into their lives habits and ways basically, and character and behavior and all of that, habits that will help your children be wholesome. When you have children in that space, in that wholesomeness, it's difficult for you to misunderstand them, and of course it's difficult for them not to trust you because of the system that you have created. All right, dear parents. So thank you for joining us for another show today. We are 5 minutes into our time. I hope you got value from this session. If you did, let us know in the comments. If you have a friend who needs to catch a replay of this, please share the link with them, tag them to this post so that they can catch replays. And of course, if you want your child to be a part of the Mastermind Circle, our peer mentorship and accountability group, where we raise children who are wholesome, all of these things we're talking are all incorporated in our curriculum in the Mastermind Circle, and we support parents and the children especially, all right, so that we can grow in all of these areas that we're talking about. We help them manage this adolescent phase of their lives by having constant, we have a full communication line that is open for us to keep having these conversations so that the children understand themselves. And of course, we are here for you, representing you, dear parents, okay, and then putting you in good light before your children. In the same way, we like to put your children in good light before you. So when parents come to me with their troubles and they come and they about the child in the mastermind, they're always shocked because I will never agree, right, that the child is 100% wrong, because the child isn't. You are the parent first. So basically, look at it there that we are the one in the middle, making you look good in front of your children, and of course, making your children look good in front of you, so that the both of you, the children and you, all right, can actually foster the, so that your children and you can foster a beautiful relationship. So yes, take it this way, that we are your partners. All right, so if you would like to be a part of the Mastermind Circle, it is so affordable. So it's less than 6,000 naira a month for the Mastermind Circle. It's less than 6,000 naira a month for the Mastermind Circle. And of course, you get Sorry about that. So I said the mastermind is less than 6,000 naira per month. What it means is that you get to pay just 70,000 naira for an entire year for us to work with your children round the clock. All right. So if you check in the comment section or in the description on YouTube, you will see all the information that you need. All right. Frequently asked questions about the mastermind circle and how you can make payment to enroll your child for the mastermind circle. Whatever the challenge is, you can reach us on our number. It's on your screen, 081 306 21566. With that number, you can reach us. Let's talk about what the challenge could be and why you are not registering your 6 to 14 or 13-year-olds into the mastermind circle. We graduate the children when they turn 14, the cohort when they turn 14. Apart from that, we have amazing resources that if you have children 7 and above, then you want them reading our amazing resources. This is such a beautiful book. It's all about family traditions and how our children can build, that stamina in our family and honor, all of those beautiful things that make a family beautiful. All right. Wisdom stories for champions. The wise stories grandma taught me. You can get this on Amazon and you can get these, hard copies from us. Okay, just reach out. Okay, beautiful, beautiful books we have. We have Unlocking Excellence. It's a beautiful book, A Student's Guide to Success Beyond the Classroom. We also have this amazing new book that I've written also, Destined for Greatness. This is, of course, to help your children. We've put real African models in front of our children that can help our children see the greatness within them and how the world can meet them and that greatness. We have Young and Money Smart, Abundance Mindset. Let your children know that money is first made here, okay, before it's made in naira and copper, dollars and pounds, so that pop culture does not confuse your child. Your child needs this amazing book. Then we have bedtime stories for champions. Do you want your child to know what they are capable of today? Let them know that they can begin to create impact even right now. The bedtime stories for champions is your guide. Beautiful, beautiful book for children 7 and above. Then we have playtime stories for champions. This is for you parents, even for parents of 1, 2, 3 year olds. It's packed with all kinds of adventures and activities that your children can, do and play, basically to stimulate your environment. We have Christmas stories for champions. Christmas stories for champions. It's beautiful stories about Christmas and what Christmas was like for us growing up. It's not a Christian book per se, it's a circular book. It's just many Christmases, and how, it was celebrated in the north, in the southern part of the country, in the eastern part of the country. So that's a soldier coming home for Christmas to his family. Such a beautiful book. The illustrations are beautiful. And then, of course, we have the Skill Up journal for your children to start reflecting, building those emotional skills starting today. And of course, our parenting book, we have Mentor Parents for you parents of young people. And we have, of course, we also have our planner. With this planner, you can begin to write notes to your children, record their milestones. We have over 12 templates that you can use to create your family structure and system, basically. Right? Beautiful, beautiful book. I don't market this book well enough, but it's such a beautiful book and it's durable. You can hand this over to your child when your child is 25. Talk about that thing you leave with your child. So the handwriting is this book is going to be all yours, writing different notes. So I have different notes I've written to my children in my copy of this book. And yes, when they're old enough, I'll hand it. So this becomes like a template for your children to use even with their own children. And they will not say you did not do enough for them. Such a beautiful book. So we have all of these resources and you can get them from us directly. We have distributors spread around the country. In Nigeria, you can order them from any of our distributors. Okay, and we have pickup points also. When you buy from us, you can pick from some locations where we have pickup points. And yes, you can also get them on Amazon or you can order soft copies. All right, so thank you very much for joining me on today's episode. The information to join the mastermind is on your screen and you can reach out to us also. We have our seller link also. We're going to put that in the comment section where you can order all these books or just send us a message basically. Thank you again and have a wonderful week ahead. And remember that you are an advantage, or you should be an advantage to your child. What you know and what you decide to do will either be an advantage or a disadvantage to your child. Have a pleasant rest of the week. Bye. Bye, 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 bye for now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ibukun. You're welcome. All right, then. Bye.